Star Trek. Insurrection wasn't just another Trek sequel. It was sabotaged from the inside.
Slow to 1/3. Take us in.
Paramount literally stole the visual effects budget to save Titanic. Patrick Stewart forced in a mambo dance scene that made writers threaten to quit. And the head writer was so devastated by studio interference, he wrote a tell-all book, which Paramount blocked for years. These are 15 facts about the film that cut a library massacre, reused Enterprise sets as alien ships, and predicted August 2026 as humanity's turning point. 1. The Picard versus Picard Ego War. Patrick Stewart had just experienced massive success with Star Trek. First Contact. The highest-grossing Trek film in years. It positioned him as a legitimate action hero. Coming off that triumph, Stewart arrived at Insurrection with specific demands. He wanted Captain Picard transformed into the space James Bond, a romantic physical action star rather than a contemplative intellectual leader. Stewart personally insisted on a romantic subplot with a much younger woman. He demanded a scene where he could showcase his real-life ballroom dancing skills. The infamous Mambo scene where Picard teaches Data to dance was so tonally inconsistent that several writers threatened to remove their names from the script entirely. They privately called it the death of Picard's dignity. The scene remains one of the most divisive moments in Trek history. Fans split between finding it charming or humiliating. 2. The Elastic Face CGI Nightmare. The son of villains were designed to look like they'd undergone centuries of catastrophically bad cosmetic surgery. Skin stretched tight over their skulls in grotesque ways. To achieve the disturbing stretching effect, the production used primitive early digital morphing technology, still experimental in 1998. Lead actress Donna Murphy was explicitly promised her character would look naturally radiant due to the planet's rejuvenating radiation. When Murphy saw the final cut and realized digital soft focus filters and CGI smoothing had been applied to her face throughout the film, she was reportedly deeply insulted. The implication that she needed digital Botox to look beautiful on camera. Murphy distanced herself from the promotional campaign, rarely discussed Insurrection in subsequent interviews. Clearly uncomfortable with how her appearance had been digitally manipulated. Now 3. The Library Massacre deleted scene. There's a legendary lost sequence that would have fundamentally changed the film's tone. The deleted scene depicted Sana forces launching a full-scale military ground assault on the peaceful Baku village. Armed soldiers systematically gunning down dozens of unarmed villagers inside their library. The editing team described it as needlessly graphic violence, reportedly brutal and disturbing. Innocent civilians, including elderly people, being murdered execution style while trying to protect their cultural artifacts. Paramount forced director Jonathan Frakes to completely remove the sequence. They feared mainstream Trek fans wouldn't accept a PG-rated movie where sympathetic pacifist characters were slaughtered like cattle. The deletion significantly softened the film's critique of forced relocation and cultural genocide. 4. The stolen Titanic budget. Both Star Trek, Insurrection, and James Cameron's Titanic were Paramount projects being produced simultaneously in 1997 to 1998. When Titanic's budget spiraled catastrophically out of control, exceeding $200 million and becoming the most expensive film ever made, Paramount was financially desperate. According to multiple crew members, the studio taxed or reallocated significant portions of Insurrection's visual effects budget to help cover Cameron's cost overruns. This is why space battle sequences often look noticeably flat, unfinished, or cheaper compared to the polished work in First Contact 2 years earlier. The money literally moved from the Enterprise to the Titanic. Star Trek suffered the consequences. The irony? Titanic became the highest-grossing film of all time, while Insurrection underperformed. Paramount made the correct financial decision even if it damaged the franchise. 5. Firing the Borg creator. The original screenplay was written by Michael Piller, the legendary showrunner who fundamentally shaped The Next Generation and Deep Space Nine. one of the franchise's most important creative voices. Piller wanted a dark, philosophically complex story explicitly based on the Trail of Tears and other forced relocations of indigenous peoples, using science fiction as allegory for American colonial atrocities. Paramount executives hated it, called it too depressing and too political for a mainstream summer movie. They forced Piller to rewrite the screenplay 11 separate times, gradually stripping away moral complexity and political commentary until it became a generic action film. Shortly after Insurrection's disappointing release, Paramount removed Piller from any creative leadership role in the franchise. He was so devastated he wrote a brutally honest memoir titled Fade in documenting how the studio destroyed his script. Paramount used legal threats to block publication for years. It only saw a limited release after Piller's death in 2005. 6. Data's detachable head. In early drafts, Data's malfunction subplot was supposed to be much more physical and slapstick. The original concept had Data literally losing his android head during the scout ship chase, his headless body continuing to pilot the spacecraft while his severed head rolled around on the floor shouting navigation instructions. Brent Spiner immediately vetoed it. He argued passionately that the sequence would make Data look like a cartoon clown or Looney Tunes character rather than a sophisticated artificial life form. Spiner felt the dignity and pathos of the character would be permanently damaged by such broad physical comedy. He refused to film the scene as written. The writers reluctantly revised the malfunction to be more subtle and psychological, though traces of the slapstick tone remained. 7. The Joystick Controversy. In the climactic space battle, Commander Riker manually pilots the USS Enterprise using what appears to be a manual flight controller. It looks suspiciously identical to a consumer-grade 1990s PC gaming joystick. Trek fans mercilessly ridiculed this for years. A sophisticated 24th century starship with advanced computer systems shouldn't be controlled by what appears to be a $20 Radio Shack peripheral. The prop was actually a barely modified Gravis Phoenix PC game controller with some cosmetic plastic housing added. According to crew members, the actors themselves, including Jonathan Frakes, reportedly laughed every time they had to seriously pretend to pilot a starship using the obviously cheap gaming accessory. It became an embarrassing symbol of Insurrection's budget constraints and lack of imagination. 8. The Missing DS9 Connection Insurrection was released in December 1998. The exact same time Deep Space Nine was airing its final season's intense Dominion War storyline. The Federation engaged in a desperate, costly interstellar conflict. Fans expected some crossover between concurrent storylines. There was actually a scene filmed where Picard explicitly mentions the ongoing war and requests emergency reinforcements from Captain Sisko. The sequence was cut to keep the movie standalone and accessible to non-Trek fans, but removing it created a massive logic hole. Why is the Federation's flagship on a peaceful diplomatic mission to an obscure planet when the rest of Starfleet is being systematically destroyed in the largest war in galactic history? The deletion made Insurrection feel disconnected from the larger Trek universe, reinforced criticisms that the film felt like an extended television episode rather than a cinematic event. 9. The Purple Space Gas. The Briar Patch Nebula was created using expensive combination of practical neon gas effects and large-scale physical cloud tanks filmed at high speed. The visual effects team spent approximately $2 million, substantial portion of their limited budget, just perfecting the shimmering, ethereal quality. Then, during the first day of digital color grading, a technician accidentally shifted the color spectrum significantly toward purple, creating a vibrant, almost psychedelic Barney purple hue. Director Jonathan Frakes saw the mistake and unexpectedly loved the trippy aesthetic so much that he kept it in the final film. Despite science advisors correctly arguing that real nebulae don't look like disco lighting, the purple nebula became one of Insurrection's most visually memorable elements, created entirely by accident. 10. Geena Davis's secret rejection. The role of Aneej was originally written specifically for Geena Davis. The studio pursued Davis aggressively, believing her star power would elevate the film. Davis read the screenplay and turned it down. She felt the script was too light and insubstantial. The romantic relationship between a centuries-old alien woman and Picard felt creepy rather than romantic. The role eventually went to Broadway actress Donna Murphy, who had to endure 4 hours in the makeup chair every single morning to achieve the perpetually young appearance the Baku are supposed to possess. Murphy's exhausting makeup process contributed to her later frustration with how the production digitally altered her appearance even further in post-production. 11. The real fountain of youth science. The metaphasic radiation at the center of the plot, mysterious energy causing cellular regeneration and reversing aging, is loosely based on genuine, though highly theoretical, scientific research. Concentrated electromagnetic radiation and its potential effects on cellular repair mechanisms. NASA researchers actually published an academic paper in the early 2000s citing Insurrection as an example of how science fiction can accurately depict basic mechanics of radiation therapy and cellular biology. Even if the immortality fountain of youth aspect is pure fantasy with no scientific basis. The paper praised the film for at least attempting to ground its central MacGuffin in plausible-sounding science rather than complete magic or technobabble. One of the few elements of Insurrection that earned scientific credibility from actual researchers. 12. Worf's puberty joke. The bizarre subplot about Worf experiencing Klingon puberty a second time, including the emergence of an adolescent Gorsh, essentially a Klingon pimple, was Michael Dorn's personal creative contribution. Dorn had grown tired of playing Worf as perpetually angry and humorless. He pitched exploring the character as an awkward teenager, dealing with embarrassing physical changes. The practical prosthetic, Klingon Zit, kept falling off Dorn's face because of intense desert heat during California location shooting, leading to 14 separate reshoots of a single 5-second comedic beat. The subplot divided fans. Some found it a refreshing character moment. Others felt it reduced Worf to comic relief. Then Dorn himself later admitted he wasn't sure if the joke worked, but appreciated the attempt to show a different side of the character. 13. The suicidal alternate ending. In the original screenplay's climax, the villain Ruafo doesn't simply fall into the metaphasic collector and die in a generic explosion. The much darker original ending had Ruafo realize his obsessive pursuit of immortality had destroyed his people beyond any possibility of redemption. In a moment of horrified self-awareness, he deliberately triggers the self-destruct of his own genetically unstable cells, causing his body to catastrophically decompose and liquefy into a disgusting pile of biological soup on the bridge floor in front of Picard. The studio found this ending too gross and too nihilistic for PG-rated Star Trek. They mandated a rewrite to the standard action movie explosion where Ruafo simply dies in fire. The deleted ending would have been far more disturbing and thematically consistent with the film's critique of vanity and the fear of mortality. 14. The Missing 2026 Connection. Extremely subtle background prop detail that conspiracy-minded fans have obsessed over. In the Baku village library scenes, there are decorative scrolls visible on shelves supposedly listing the great collapses of Earth's historical civilizations. Digitally zoom in on the prop scrolls in high-definition versions. The final date listed before an entry labeled The Great Awakening is August 2026. While Insurrection was produced in 1998, the prop masters were apparently echoing classic 1950s science fiction predictions that the mid-2020s would represent the final turning point for human civilization, either toward utopia or catastrophe. Whether intentional prophetic commentary or random set decoration remains unclear, but the specific 2026 date has fueled online speculation about hidden messages. 15. The Enterprise E interior secret. Because Insurrection's budget was so severely constrained, especially after funds were redirected to Titanic, the production had to find creative ways to minimize expensive new set construction. The interiors of the Son of Villains ships are actually just the existing USS Enterprise E corridor sets redressed. Different colored lighting, additional exposed pipes, some scattered alien decorations. Examine the floor plating, wall panels, and structural architecture carefully. The sets are identical to the Federation starship. This created genuine confusion on set. Actors and crew frequently getting lost during filming because they couldn't tell whether they were supposed to be on the good guy or bad guy ship. The budget-saving measure worked well enough that most casual viewers never noticed the deception. So would you give up warp drive and abandon the stars for a chance to stay young forever farming on a paradise planet? The film's answer: immortality isn't worth what you have to become to get it. Let me know in the comments if the Mambo scene was the best moment in Trek history or an unforgivable humiliation. If you want more declassified files on the starships that went where no budget had gone before, hit subscribe. See you in the next one.